What's up, fighting fans? Tips from the Fight IQ channel. Today we're coming back for another episode of the Fight IQ show. We're back to our regular format. First, I will rank the top 5 fights that happened last weekend and tell you why we have to run them back. To make this ranking, I base my opinion on these criteria: the excitement, the duration of the fight, opposition level, and the way to finish the fight. Then I'll make a preview of the top 5 coming matchups. So let's get ready to rumble! So last weekend on the menu we had the UFC Fight Night 18 in the Lumpinee Stadium in Bangkok, LFA 174 in Pearl Lake, Minnesota, UFC Fight Night in Las Vegas, and the Beterbiev vs Smith boxing card in Quebec City. I really had a hard time picking 5 fights. I put some in, then took them out, but now I'm satisfied with what I got. Number 5, Magomed Ankalaev vs Johnny Walker. It was the main event of the UFC Fight Night, Saturday 13th in Vegas. I downgraded it a bit comparing to my preview, but it was not a bad fight. I just think that I expected a bit more from it, but let's break it down a little bit. Johnny Walker started early with his unorthodox style, he was switching stances a lot, and he decided to bring the fight directly to Ankalaev. Also, he targeted clearly his legs. A lot of leg kicks, in between some high kicks to prove that he can be unpredictable. But Ankalaev was really composed, not rushing anything, and I would say even not being really active in my opinion. But he was clearly thinking about being able to fight 5 rounds. Still, it was efficient, every shot was thrown in order to inflict damage to Walker. But second round, Ankalaev brought more intensity, he was setting the pace, using powerful calf kicks, probably to reduce danger from Walker's kicks. And that worked great. Walker really struggles to find openings, he was really less comfortable at being the hunted. So 2 minutes 20 before the end of the second round, Ankalaev found a beautiful counter shot, a hook to the chin directly after a calf kick from Walker. He dropped him and then followed with a heavy strike to the face, probably breaking Walker's nose. The referee stepped in before more damage was done. Ankalaev continues his unbeaten streak and he called for a title shot. He's not the most exciting fighter, but he's really efficient, clinical performance from him. He reminded everybody that he can strike and knock people out. I hope to see Walker back soon. I think it's a fun fighter to watch. Number 4, Suablack vs Stefan Korodi. It was the co-main event of the UFC Fight Night 18 in the Lumpinee Stadium in Bangkok, and it was Friday 12th. A Muay Thai banger. I was not expecting much from the UFC Fight Night 18 card after some of the fights fell out, but I got some nice surprises, including that amazing fight. It's everything you could ask for Muay Thai: strong leg kicks, great clinch work, vicious elbows, and shout out to Suablack clinch work, he's really mastering it, sweeping Korodi's legs, throwing elbows, rocking his opponent. But after the first round, Korodi came back willing to inflict some damage to Suablack, and he dropped him with a beautiful direct from the right hand. And when Suablack got up, Korodi was eager to finish the fight, even too eager. He stormed into his opponent, putting him in the rope, but got caught by a beautiful elbow and was forced to put a knee down. And when he got up, Suablack went at him again and dropped him again with a vicious elbow. The crowd was going wild. He even got really close to finish his opponent, but Korodi survived even though he looked really hard. Third and final round, Suablack attacking with heavy shots. He went smothering his opponent with clinch, forcing him into the ropes, sending knees, elbows. But Korodi never gave up. He tried to stay at distance. He was sending powerful middle kicks. And finally, the fight went to the distance. A lot of respect between these two Nakmuay. Suablack getting the win quite logically, but what a war. I can't wait to see them both back at the Lumpinee Stadium. Number 3, Mbilli vs Murdock. Co-main event of the Beterbiev vs Smith boxing card. It was Saturday 13th in Quebec City, and it was for the WBC Continental America's Super Middleweight title. It was the 4th fight to watch in my preview, but now it's climbing to the number 3 spot. I was so impressed with Mbilli's performance. He entered the fight being aggressive as usual, trying to find his range, the close range to be specific. Murdock was determined to not let him approach. He had a great use of his jab in the first round, covering himself the few times he was in the rope, but from the second round, Mbilli started to take over. He was being more accurate, he punished his opponent when he didn't put his guard back after using his jab, and then he succeeded to bring him where he wanted, the ropes. From there, he sent power shots after power shots, going at the body, coming back with right overhand. Murdock was still in the fight though, he even allowed himself to taunt his opponent, but paid for that. He was getting rocked after powerful uppercut and overhand at the end of the round 2. But Murdock showed a lot of toughness. Mbilli is a powerful striker, and from round 3 he sent only power shots. And Murdock showed a lot of toughness, and Mbilli is a powerful striker, and from round 3 he sent only power shots. And with a lot of accuracy, he also was looking for different angles. He stepped outside beautifully a few times to send devastating hooks to the face of Murdock. And it continued like this until the end of the 6th round, where Murdock's corner decided to stop the contest. Indeed, he was taking too much damage. Even though he didn't give up, he never took a knee down, so hats off to him. Mbilli was just levels above him. Another win, another stoppage, showing progress once again, and he was calling for a fight with the champ Canelo Alvarez. I'd love to see that one. It will be a tough fight for Mbilli, but he needs to go through him in order to attain his goal. So excited to see what's next for him. Number 2, Ricky Simon versus Mario Bautista. It was on the main card of the UFC Fight Night, Saturday 13th in Vegas. What a fight it was, and what a statement from Bautista. Both fighters started with high pace and bad intentions. Simon clearly had the power advantage. He was setting pressure to unload heavy shots in his opponent's face. Bautista was sticking and moving. He didn't want to let Simon the chance to connect. Intensity as well, Bautista having a lot of success with the striking. He landed more significant shots, including a beautiful jumping knee in the first round. Simon landed some great counters. He even dropped Bautista in the first round, keeping him there on the ground for the rest of the round. And he brought him to the ground again in the third with a beautiful takedown. I think Bautista was just a level above him in this fight. He had a great takedown and ground defense, better striking accuracy, and looked the fresher fighter in the last round, also looking really close to finish Simon. He secured round 2 and round 3 in my opinion, getting the win via unanimous decision and probably a spot in the top 15 of the bantamweight division. Amazing fights once again, hats off to both fighters, both warriors. They showed up at their best and can't wait to see them both back inside the cage. And number 1, Arthur Beterbiev versus Callum Smith. It was the main event of the boxing card with the same name, Saturday 13th in Quebec City. It was for the IBF, WBC, WBO World Light Heavyweight titles. In the preview, I said that it would be the cherry on the cake, and it really was. Beterbiev started right away. He was going at Smith, putting him in the rope. But Smith found a wrench to not facilitate the task of Beterbiev. He used his jab a lot. He tried to pierce the champ squad with nice hooks, but you could see that Beterbiev was not moved by Smith's power. Smith couldn't land too many shots either, and Beterbiev, even though more patient than his usual self, was starting to hammer him down. Powerful shots sent by the champ, incredible pressure as well. He really wore his opponent down. And Smith was tough, a lot of respect to him, but he couldn't match his intensity. He was taking too much damage. He was even at some point trapped in the ropes. And Beterbiev did something that nobody ever did before. He knocked Callum Smith down. After that, the corner decided to stop the fight. They didn't want to see their boxer take some more damage. So Beterbiev remains undefeated, 20 wins, 20 knockouts. Amazing. He's 38 years old, but he looks better than ever. He's supposed to fight Dimitri Bivol next for the undisputed title. I can't wait for this one. Two of the best boxers in the world at their best, so I think we have to see this one. Tough love for Smith, but I think he will come back. He has a lot of potential. He's really tough, maybe lacking a bit of power for somebody like Beterbiev, but I think he can do something in this weight class. To mention this week, some of these fights almost made my final cuts. Some were even in at some point, but I decided to take them out. So there was Miller versus Benitez at the UFC Fight Night. Great performance from Miller, who finished his opponent in the third round after dominating the whole fight. The guy seems that he doesn't age. Jacoby Jones versus Keegan Ganrich. That was the main event of the LFA 174 for the lightweight championship. Huge statement by Ganrich. He's the new champ. He's completely out-wrestled Jones, and he also submitted him. I hope to see Jones bounce back. I think he has a lot of potential. And Rangrawi versus Al Tekriti at One Fight Night 18. Great Muay Thai fight, beautiful KO in the second round from Rangrawi. Some good performances also from Joshua Van, Nicolas Mota, Farid Basharat, Jean Silva and Marcus McGee at the UFC Fight Night. I can't wait to see those guys again. And now the top 5 coming matchups. So on the menu there will be KSW 90 at Warsaw in Poland, Saturday 20th. There will be the UFC 297 in Toronto, Canada, Saturday 20th. And the Jonas vs Meyer boxing card in Liverpool, also Saturday 20th. Number 5, Natasha Jonas vs Michaela Meyer, main event of the boxing card with the same name, in Liverpool, Saturday 20th. It's for the IBF World Welterweight title. It's a high-level boxing match between two of the best athletes in the women's boxing. First we have Natasha Jonas, 39 years old, 14-2-1 with 9 KO. Southpaw, she has a powerful left hand, good right hook, great tenacity. She's the former super welterweight IBF, WBC and WBO world champion. She also competed versus Katie Taylor for undisputed lightweight title, where she lost via decision in a really close fight, and versus Terry Harper for the IBO and WBC super featherweight titles, which ended in a draw. So that is quite the accomplishment. She fought for titles in 4 different weight classes and she is champion in 2. She got the WBO super welterweight title in February from 2022 after stopping Chris Namus in the second round. She won then the WBC belt 7 months later, beating Patricia Bergold via unanimous decision, and she finally finished her run at super welterweight by getting the IBF belt after a unanimous decision win over Marie-Yves Dicker. After that, she captured the vacant IBF World Welterweight title by stopping Candy Wyatt in the 8th round last July. And her first title defense will be a tough challenge because she will face Michaela Meyer. Meyer is 33 years old, 19-1, 5 knockouts. She has a huge volume of striking, a great heart as well. She's really relentless, a lot of variety in her strikes choices. And Meyer is the former WBO and IBF World Super Featherweight champ after beating Eva Brodnicka and Maiva Amadouche. She also tried to unify the belts versus Alicia Baumgartner in October from 2022, but she lost via split decision in a really competitive fight. Then Meyer went up to lightweight, she captured the WBC interim title, and she will now try to add titles to her collection by competing in a new weight class. I think this fight will go to the distance. I think it will be really disputed. There will be a lot of back and forth exchanges. I would give a slight edge to Meyer. I think she fought better opposition, she had more 10 rounds fights, but it will be really close for sure, and I wouldn't bury Natasha Jonas too fast. Number 4, Brad Katona versus Garrett Armfield. It will be in the prelims for the UFC 297 in Toronto, Saturday 20th. I'm pretty hyped up by this bantamweight showdown. First we have Brad Katona, 13-2, 4 finishes. He was originally the winner of the Ultimate Fighter 27 at featherweight, beating Kyler Phillips, Bryce Mitchell and Jay Cuciniello, but he then made his first UFC official appearance as a bantamweight, where he won via unanimous decision versus Matthew Lopez in 2018. But then 2 straight losses versus first Merab Tvalishvili and then Hunter Azier, and he got out of the UFC. But he started his current winning streak in 2021, got 4 wins in a row at Brave CF, and then won the Ultimate Fighter 31, beating Carlos Vera, Timur Variev and Cody Gibson in the final. He surely doesn't want to waste his second chance, and he will have to prove that he belongs there versus Armfield. Armfield is 9-3, 8 finishes. He has only 2 fights inside the UFC, but he showed a lot of promises. He lost his first fight versus David Onama at featherweight, but then he looked freaking impressive in his second appearance as a bantamweight. This time, he knocked out Toshiomi Kazama in the first round after showcasing his whole skill set. I think this fight is going to be a back and forth battle, even though Katona seems to have an edge in experience. He has a lot of 15 minutes fight in his resume. I go with Armfield. I was so impressed by his last performance, and if he fights that way again, I think I see him getting the win even before the limit. Number 3, Jourdain versus Woodson. Prelims of the UFC 297, Toronto, Saturday 20th. It's a really interesting matchup at 145 pounds. Two technical strikers willing to keep their winning streak going. Jourdain is 15, 6 and 1, 13 finishes. He's at the UFC since 2019, 6-5 and 1 there. A lot of highs and lows in his path. Difficulties to keep his winning streaks going, but still is a tough fighter. He has great highlights in his career. He fought great opposition like Andre Fili, Shane Burgos, Nathaniel Woods, and he stays on a 2 fights winning streak. First a unanimous decision win versus Kron Gracie, and then a submission versus Ricardo Ramos in the first round, and both wins are in 2023. He will try to keep his momentum going versus Sean Woodson. The Sniper won his place at the UFC after knocking Terence McKinney out during the Dana White Contender Series in 2019. And since then, he's 4-1 and 1, including an impressive performance last time he stepped in the cage versus Denis Buzukja last August. He's a typical fighter. He makes great use of his long reach, really good at finding openings as well, and he's actually my favorite for that one. I think Jourdain can be a bit wild sometimes, and I'm pretty sure that Woodson will take advantage of that and get the W via KO. Number 2, Arnold Allen versus Movsar Evloev. It's on the main card of the UFC 297 in Toronto, Saturday 20th. A featherweight banger. First we have Arnold Almighty Allen, ranked number 3 in the featherweight division, 19 and 2, 11 finishes. He entered the UFC in 2015, beginning an incredible winning streak of 9 fights inside the organization, including impressive performance over Matt Burnell, Gilbert Melendez, Sodiq Yusuff, Dan Hooker, and Kelvin Kattar. And to get the opportunity to get a title shot, he had to go through Max Holloway last April, but got beaten by an amazing opponent. And to bounce back from this loss and pursue his dream to get the featherweight gold, he will have to face Movsar Evloev. The Russian is ranked number 9, is undefeated, 17 and 0, 7 finishes. He first dominated on the Russian scene before getting in the UFC in 2019. Then he started his ascension, going through tough opponents like Hakeem Dawoudou, Dan Ige, and more recently Diego Lopez last May. And by beating Allen, Evloev would be really close to the title shot. I think it's gonna be a really close fight. Both are complete fighters, and I expect it to go to the decision. I'd give an edge to Allen. I think he has more experience inside the octagon. He fought better competition as well, and I think he's going to capitalize on that. And the number 1, Sean Strickland versus Dricus du Plessis. Main event of the UFC 297 in Toronto, Saturday 20th. It's for the middleweight championship. And most exciting fight of the week for sure. Two great characters, but also two tough and highly skilled fighters. First defense for the champ, Sean Strickland, is at the UFC since 2014, 15 and 5 there with 5 finishes. He first started at the welterweight before going to middleweight in 2020. The beginning was great, 5 wins in a row, including TKO over Brendan Allen, decision wins over Raul and Jack Manson. But 2022 was a bad year for him. He got knocked out by Alex Pereira and then lost a split decision fight versus Cannonier. But he bounced back in 2023, beating Nasruddin Imavov via unanimous decision, Abus Magomedov via TKO, and snatching the belt from Israel Adesanya last September with a spectacular performance. Now the hardest part begins, keeping the belt. He will face Dricus du Plessis as a first challenge. Du Plessis, 20 and 2, 19 finishes. He arrived at the UFC in 2020, then beat Marcus Perez via KO for his first fight. He then beat Trevin Giles via TKO, dominated Brad Tavares, choked Darren Till, and stopped Bronson and Whittaker to conclude his ongoing winning streak. He wanted to fight Adesanya. It would have made a great pay-per-view for sure, but Strickland spoiled the party. I really like this matchup. First we have a composed and durable Strickland versus an explosive and powerful Du Plessis. And I'm gonna go with the defending champ on that one. Du Plessis gas tank is a bit worrying me. I think because of his muscle mass and his aggressivity, he don't seem to be able to go through a 5-round war. I think he will try to storm through Strickland right away. And Strickland showed that he can go through 5 rounds, he's durable, he doesn't get overwhelmed, and I think he will find an opening after the 3rd round and get a finish. Also, to keep an eye on this weekend, some other fights are worth your time. At the UFC, there will be Pennington versus Bueno Silva for the women's bantamweight title. There will be Neil Magny versus Mallet, Sidey versus Taveras. At KSW 90, there will be Vrosek, the former Glory kickboxer, the heavyweight that beat Badr Hari, versus Ivan Vitasovic, and there will be Ramos versus Beterbiev, the tough French prospect. So that was it for this week. If you enjoyed that video, please give a hard punch to those like and subscribe buttons, especially the last one, if you don't want to miss any new release. Also, hit the comments with some thoughts on the last bangers and some picks for the coming matchups. Enjoy the fights, I'll see you next week.